Welcome to the channel. We're your hosts. My name is Quentin Horton,
And I'm Aaron Curry.
and this is
It's Secrets to Sexy. Hey guys, welcome back to Secrets to Sexy, where one of the sexiest things you can do is heal.
Yep.
Today we're going to talk about a topic that I feel doesn't get enough love, right? Doesn't get enough coverage, and that's mental health. One of the sexiest things you can do is heal and focus on your mental health. And when I say mental health, I'm not talking about like spa days and retail therapy as the women like to do. Men too, I do it. But I'm talking about like the real ugly work, that work you know where you get home after work and you sit in the car for 30 minutes and you reflect on your own thoughts and you think about the day and how you could have done better or maybe what you need to work on. That type of work, because that to me is sexy.
We've been taught that sexy is about how you look and what you wear. But the truth is, sexy is energy. It's about how you walk in the room. It's about your peace. It's about being able to walk around in stillness, not really rattled by what anybody's doing because you're centered in who you are. That's real sexy, and that's healing. And that means that you've done the inner work so that you're confident in who you are. You ever meet somebody who's not the hottest, but then you have a conversation with them and all of a sudden that 6 or 7 turns into a 10? Mm-hmm. Well, that's the power of presence. Yeah. Usually it's because of the inner work they've done, right?
Absolutely. Well, confidence built from healing, in my opinion, is greater than confidence built from validation.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like you get validation, that's not sustainable. We always talk about sustainability, like working out and staying in shape and things of that nature. But confidence can waver quick if it's not rooted in something that's real. Right. Validation is once you're invalidated or someone doesn't say, "Hey, Aaron, you look great today," or "Hey, Q, you look amazing." It's like if we were relying on those things to feel confident, well, it's gone.
It's very volatile, I mean? very non-sustainable sure.
It's volatile, and like that's, mental health. If your mental health being healthy is contingent upon hearing things from other people, then you haven't done any work yet, in my opinion.
I agree.
Right.
I agree. All right, so AC, tell me what you like to do to maintain good mental health so that obviously that turns into confidence and the ability to stay centered within yourself in every room you walk into.
Well, I mean, fitness, first and foremost, right? Waking up at 4 a.m., praying, meditating, going to the gym, that's the first thing for me. But what I found over the last few years is a new passion that kind of resets me whenever I do, and that's golf. Okay. Golf for me, there's so many parallels in golf and life, and it teaches you patience and staying the course and honesty, as dropping a ball, saying you found your ball when you didn't really find it. There's so much, but like golf is something that has helped my mental in a lot of different ways because, again, there's so many similarities to life. So for me, that's one of the ways I reset. But another one is I've done therapy before, and it's taboo, especially in our culture, and for Black men and women as well. It's like we don't ever want anyone telling us what to do or psychoanalyzing us, but like that's what we need. So I've done therapy, and I think that's a very healthy outlet to learn about yourself. But outside of therapy, I think just having a healthy habit, outside of like drinking alcohol with your friends or eating too much food or, unhealthy food, just like what are the healthy things you can rely on? And for me, that's working out and golf. Right. And then talking to those people I trust, whether it's my mom or my sister. My sister is an ABA therapist, and I know she can't like really counsel me, she's by the book, but getting her perspective as a therapist is very healthy, and it lets me know like my outlook is aligned with what it should be, or hey, maybe you should shift your thinking and make some adjustments. So it's just nice having someone that you can talk to like that. And if you don't have a sister that's a therapist or a family member that's a therapist, like, just find that person for yourself, or go see an actual licensed therapist, I think, kind of just to find that baseline. Like, am I as good as I think I am? Because sometimes we think we're good and we think our mental health is better than it really is. And it's like, you need some work. You know what I mean? And who's going to tell you? Like, who wants to have a conversation with their friend and say, hey, my boy, like, you got some problems, man. You need to work on them. This, and this. No one wants to have that awkward conversation. So there's people that and professionals that will tell you that in a palatable way, in a way that you can receive it and not be defensive. So, it's good to check that level and just make sure you are where you should be.
Right. And I want to piggyback off of that because I do think, especially for black men, we have been taught to just endure.
Yeah.
What we've gone through in the United States,
Yeah.
obviously coming in and then being like, okay, well now part of being a man is just enduring, right? Not healing, but just enduring and lasting and just pushing through. Not realizing like even if you get to the top, what's the point of getting to the top if your mental and spirit is damaged and you can't actually enjoy being there, right? So I was talking to a guy the other day. He was like, I haven't made time to work out yet because I'm just working hard on my career. And I was like, well, you're working hard in your career to get to the top, but if you get to the top and you don't take your mental health and your physical health with you, you're not going to enjoy the experience at the top, So I feel like you have to kind of balance everything. For me, as far as what I do, my connection with God is always first meditating, centering myself, my core identity, my core beliefs, so that when I go out into the world, my discernment and my responses are based off what I truly believe and the agreements that I've made with myself. As far as what I like to do, for my own mental health, it always starts off with how I wake up.
Yep.
Like if I wake up and I'm meditating and I'm praying and I'm really setting the tone for how I want my day to go, to me it's almost like a radio station. You're tuning yourself to the right frequency of who you are and what you want from the day, right? And it doesn't mean you can control the day, but what you can control by doing that is you can control your responses to everything that comes your way. It's the difference between going out in the rain without an umbrella and a jacket and going out into the rain with an umbrella and jacket and being fully prepared with rain boots. So with that being said, when I do that and I center myself, I'm taking control of my destiny. I'm saying this is who I am, so when I step out in the world, I'm locking in my identity. Another thing I like to do for my mental health is it's very important, guys, to be very vulnerable with yourself at least, where you can admit certain things about yourself that bothers you, certain things you're uncomfortable. Now, it's not healthy to think about what makes you uncomfortable throughout an entire day, but it is important to section off a day where you discuss some things that you feel uncomfortable with, things you would like to adjust, things you want to improve, but you have to do it with the mindset of, you can change these things. These are changeable events, at least most of them. And the ones that are not changeable, you have to have the faith to know that, hey, this is just a season, it will pass. So what I look at is the things I'm uncomfortable with, and I journal these things sometimes, and then I journal the things I can do to change it, some new habits that I can implement, and then the things that I can't control, you really have to be, faithful enough to know, like, hey, this is just a season. This is just what's going on right now. I still got a whole life ahead of me. And if I keep playing the game, I can win it. And if you operate with that energy, your cup is always going to be half full. You can always kind of operate in that optimism. So that definitely helps a lot for me. And then as far as, it's not golf.
I'm trying to get it into it. He got too many muscles. He can't even swing.
It's not golf. I don't have the patience yet. It's more working out. What I will say is
you mentioned something about golf today. You were like, when's the last time you golfed? And I was like, it's been a little bit. You were like, yeah.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you could see it. You could tell.
Yeah. I could tell, basically as we were getting ready to shoot this episode, I noticed he was a little more stressed than usual. We all go through stuff. But I can also tell he probably didn't golf as much this week, because when you're actually golfing, you come in, you have a serenity about you.
Right.
Like even if things are going on, you stay calm in the storm. And so yes, these things that passionate sports or anything that requires patience or the ability to focus on stuff can absolutely help to
I agree,
right?
And I also love what you said about journaling, and that's something that it seems like a kind of a feminine thing to do, right? Like a lot of women journal, but I used to do it in college, and it was really cool, and I got away from that, and I don't know why, but I started doing it recently, like maybe this last 6 months or so, and it's very helpful. Like you said, it's kind of like a barometer to know where you are, because we write things down when we have goals or you want to manifest something, you write it down, but like that's just writing down your goals. But why do you do it? Because you make it real. Yeah. And so when you journal things, you're putting that reality on paper, and you can go back and look at it and cross-reference and say, oh man, 10 days ago I said I was stressed because of X, Y, and Z. Have I done anything to adjust for that stress?
Right.
Yes or no? And then you can hold yourself more accountable when you can go back and kind of recheck where you were a week or 2 weeks ago. So the journaling piece is huge.
Yeah. It's a safe space to admit things to yourself. And I think a lot of times what we do as adults, some of what we think adulting is pushing through and not like kind of burying and
Enduring.
suppressing thing. Yeah, like let's just put this off to the side because I got to go to work.
Yep.
And yeah, there's a time and place for that too, right? Sometimes you do have to just get the job done.
Yep.
But if you never go back to that closet of emotions, it's almost like a closet. If you just threw everything in your closet, you never hung up your clothes and organized, and you just always get back to it later. I'll organize my closet later. You look up one day and the shit is all over the place. You're like, oh man. That's the same thing with your emotions and your mental health. If you don't, begin to unpack that baggage that you have and process those emotions and change your habits or how you respond to these things, you'll look up one day and it will be overwhelming. It will bleed over, it will leak over, and now it's even harder to process because you have so much that you haven't dealt with. So I think if you make a regular, I would say regimen, where you're always processing your emotions, and then you go back out into the world and you make a regular regimen of that, you'll find yourself being a lot more mentally healthy, and you'll be more prepared if something, God forbid, a negative circumstance does happen. You have the bandwidth to be able to deal with it because you've been processing, everything that's going on in your life in a responsible fashion.
I love what you just said, because there's a big difference between like processing something and enduring through something. I think people choose to endure because like, I have to do this and just keep going. It's like, you want to keep going to a certain extent, but you have to have guidelines. Like, okay, like for me, I'm obsessively clean and neat. So if a load of laundry builds up, I'm washing that load. I'm not going to let 5-6 loads build up, because then you get anxiety. You're like, oh my God, it's going to take me 6 hours to do this. It's like if you just do the load when it's ready to go, you won't have so much on you. So I think instead of saying I'm going to just put this off because I know I can do it later, the later always becomes. The later always piles back up on you. I feel like at the most inopportune time. Yeah, it's like you're like, man, I should have just done this when I could have.
That's real.
I had time. I had 2 hours to do that laundry. Why am I? You know what I mean? And that's a real base level example, but apply that to life. Whether it's spending time with your kids. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Yeah. But I endure the stuff that I feel is more important. It's like, but journaling helps you kind of prioritize what is important and what you should be focusing on, and doing it in a way that's healthy for your mental health. Because when you just endure, that's not good mental health.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. And you know what? What I've noticed, in my 10 years of training people, I met a lot of people, and a lot of times when they have health issues physically, it usually derives from mental health issues.
Absolutely.
And the common denominator I've seen personally is that they're like very kind people who think that everybody else's feelings and what they need from them matters more than their own personal feelings and their own personal goals. So they think that being a good person is about catering to everybody else and putting their own feelings and their own goals on the back burner. And that's a very, very detrimental mistake that a lot of kind people make.
Absolutely.
This world is not designed to be a footstool.
You're not. People like to call that, oh, I'm an empath, or I feel everything. It's like, no, you're choosing to feel other people's emotions. You're choosing to take on other people's stress and negativity and their problems. And it's like, that's not being an empath. That's just choosing drama. Yeah. Honestly, I have some friends. I have a couple friends that are, they're very, like you said, good people. They're genuinely good, loving individuals, but they take on the stress of everyone else.
Everybody else.
And, and then they get upset when like the love and care and concern that they're giving to others isn't reciprocated.
They don't get it back.
And they don't get it back. And it's like, well, one, if you weren't doing it with the right intention in the first place, you set yourself up for failure in the first place. And secondly, like, if you don't have the capacity to do it, then why are you doing it?
Right. Yeah.
Like if you're like, oh, I'm doing so much for everybody, then don't do it. Because most times when you're doing things for people like that, they didn't even ask for it anyways. Yep. You inserted yourself, they didn't ask for it, and now you're stressed for someone else's stress, and you haven't even dealt with your own life. Right. Your own life stresses or the things that are piling up on you. So it's like, don't confuse that empath word with like, oh, I have to take on everyone's. You don't. But if you choose to, don't throw it in their face when it becomes a little more stressful. You chose that.
Or like you said, if they can't give you the reciprocity you were
Absolutely.
looking for. Because sometimes I would say, you can be an overgiver and other people that you're giving to have better boundaries than you. Yep. So in your mind, you're like, you're supposed to have the same lack of boundaries that I have. And we're supposed to be over-giving to each other. And it's like, no, like I have boundaries. I can't give back what you gave. If anything, what I try to do if I meet an overgiver is I set boundaries on how much I want. It's like, no, don't give me all of that. Just give me this because I don't want you to feel like we have an unequal relationship.
Right.
But most people won't do that.
No,
Most
they're
people are
gonna just
cool. If
take.
you
They're
give it
like,
to me,
you want to give this to me.
Most people are takers by nature.
Absolutely.
You know?
And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
If someone wants to give you love, most normal human beings are gonna say, "I'll take it.
Yeah. I see a big tray. I'm like, I'm leaving here with something.
I'll take it all." So it's like there's nothing. It doesn't make them a bad person. It's just like you have to, like you said, you have to set your own boundaries, or you'll get lost in the sauce real quick. So yeah.
So I would definitely say one fundamental belief system that you should maintain is that your feelings matter the most. The experience that you're having on this earth, what you're going to feel the most is from your own being. And it's trying to give you indicators that it needs to be tended to. And if you think that being a good person is tended to everything else outside of you, then you're missing the point. The point is to focus on self-care, self-correction, and then give to others. But it starts with you first, taking care of you.
Absolutely. I told someone literally earlier today, because I knew we were going to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I made this up. I feel like I did. But I was like, in order to be selfless, you have to be selfish.
For sure.
You have to be.
Absolutely.
Because if you're if you're not healthy and happy, like how can you be that for someone else? You have to be selfish first and take care of yourself first. That's why, like in the on an airplane, when the mask come down, they're like, as an adult, even if you're the father or the mother, they say, put your mask on first.
First, yeah.
Because if you pass out, how are you going to take care of your kid or, or your elder, your mother, your father, whatever? So put your mask on first is what I'm saying. And then once your oxygen's flowing and you feel like, okay, I'm good, then you can help others. I think so many people do it in reverse that they're causing unnecessary stress to themselves. It's like, no one asked you to help without your mask on.
That's real.
No one asked you to do that. You chose to do that, and you created this environment for yourself.
Yeah. And then also what I will say too is I've had a lot of conversation with great friends or kind clients, and they're afraid that if they don't overgive, that they might lose value or that person might not like them anymore. And I always say, well, if you don't have a friend that can respect your boundaries, they're not really your friend.
Absolutely.
They're a user.
Yep.
Great friends they want you to be mentally healthy. Yeah. They want you to save time for yourself. They want you to do you first, and they respect boundaries. They're gonna be like, hey, if that's where you wanna go, if you need to do that for your mental health, no problem. Let me step back, do your thing and stuff. No real friend wants to be a liability or just a taker where they're like a vampire and taking all your energy from you. They want a balanced relationship. So if you need, to take a step back because you don't have the bandwidth, good friends are gonna say, do that. Because we love you enough for that to happen. Now, if you find yourself in a situation with someone who gets disappointed in you because you need to do that, that might be an indicator that you might need to switch friends or set some boundaries or let them go because, we all need that.
Yeah, if it's a recurring theme, I think.
Yeah,
I think sometimes people really do just need you. Like, I've had instances where I'm like, hey man, you wanna watch the game? And you're like, oh, I'm tired, but you can pick up on, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And you're like, you know what, I'm gonna come through. Because you know, but I didn't press it, but you knew, like, this is the time, because Aaron doesn't really ask anybody for anything. I could tell that he just needs his brother around.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think there's those instances too. If it's not a recurring theme where they're just making you feel bad every time you say no, then cool. But if it becomes that, then you have to set those boundaries.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. And to your point, relationships are never 50-50.
No.
It's never like, oh, we 50% treat each other well, we 50% give. Sometimes in friendships and romantic relationships, it can be 70-30. Michelle Obama talked about that with Barack Obama.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was like, when he was running for presidency, 80% of it was about his journey as a president. And she had to take the back burner so that the collective could win.
Right.
It's the same thing in friendships sometimes. Sometimes you do have to give more, in a season where somebody really needs that help. As long as it's not a recurrent, indefinite situation where it's like, this person is always the taker and the other person is always giving more, then I think that's it. And also the communication behind it, which is like, hey, like, I need this right now, because of X, Y, and Z. Can you do this? And having these open, transparent agreements about what the dynamic of the relationship is in the first place.
Yep, absolutely. Exactly. So let's talk about the cost of emotional baggage and how unsexy that is.
Right.
I think, like we talked about earlier, a lot of people don't deal with their trauma. Do you have any experiences that you can think of where you were? I can see how you're
Do I?
Yeah.
Don't ever do that again.
Where you dealt with someone, whether romantically or platonically in friendship, where they hadn't dealt with their trauma and it becomes like almost like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
When you have a conversation with them, it's like I wasn't just trying to talk to you.
Yeah.
But they use that trauma as that shield.
That shield, yeah.
And they're defensive on everything you say. Have you dealt with that? And how unsexy or sexy is that?
It's completely unsexy.
Okay.
I will first say that I feel like there's a lot of people we have this whole thing going on right now on social media about people that can't take accountability.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times that is rooted in poor mental health or insecurities, and so you just try to operate in this delusional bubble. If somebody tries to pop that bubble, then you try to defend that by pretending it didn't happen in the first place. So yes, I've gone through a heavy dosage, and you know.
Oh, I do?
Of
I'm
that.
aware?
Yeah, you're completely aware. Yes, there was a girl I dated in the past. I thought on one end, she was extremely charismatic. She had a lot of intangibles I hadn't ever found in a partner before. But it was so clouded by the inability to take accountability, the inability to have a good moral compass. And it really came from a place of lack of self-esteem. It took me a while to realize that because the ego is designed to mask the problems. So she had a really big ego where you would think like, oh, she's extremely confident. Like, man, she's doing this, and that. But behind closed doors, it's like, no, I'm putting on a big front because I really don't love myself at all. And so I think because of that, the inability to process her emotions and the inability to get past, past traumas and stuff like that in a productive fashion, we found ourselves in like really, really bad, arguments and debates, and it's just like, just tell the truth. Like, for me, I'm big on like, let's not even get into like irrational argument. Let's get to the bottom of the truth so we can come to an agreement. But I think when you have a lot of emotional baggage and you haven't processed things over for years, someone trying to get you to tell the truth about yourself hurts too much. And it can show up in, very, very angry responses or, delusional, defensive, combative, deflections, or just simple dismissal. Like I just don't even want to talk about right now. So yes, I've had my fair share, and it's unsexy. You're incapable of growing a relationship. It's like trying to plant plants inside of a desert. It's like there's just no nutrients in it because you haven't done enough healing.
Focusing on semantics as opposed to just being honest about where they are. And I think that for as well as I know you, I know that had she been honest about the trauma she experienced and where she was in healing that trauma, it would have been a completely different dynamic. Do you feel, before we get to me, do you feel that that was the underlying factor to ending that relationship, or was that the biggest factor?
I think it was the biggest factor, and to her defense, I will say, did she try? Yes. Okay. I think she tried, but I think that it's very hard to deal with baggage if you're 30 years in as an adult. If you're 30 years in an adult and then you say, now it's time to face this baggage because I'm in a relationship with a good man. That's hard. Like, you got 30 years of catch up to do. So I think I saw her trying to do the work, but in real time, most of her responses was based off of trauma. So, I stuck in there because I was trying to see, could she catch up to, a certain frequency? But, no, I mean, I think that all of us, in order to be in a relationship, should be at least a certain point of healing. We don't have to be perfect. We all got things, right? But if you're dealing with someone who's never been in a relationship, because she had never been in a serious relationship, and then all of a sudden she starts the healing journey, it's like, more than likely you're going to get dragged so much trying to wait for this person to heal that now you're becoming damaged goods. So it gets to a point where like you kind of got to jump off that ship because it's sinking,
Absolutely. And that can affect your mental health. I think people sometimes hyper focus on someone else's deficiencies, but they don't realize that their deficiencies are sinking them with them. Because you're either trying to fix that person, which, listen, we can't fix anyone. We can support people. We can love people, we can be empathetic to them, but we can't fix them. They have to want to fix themselves. And they have to realize that trying to fix yourself is not doing the work. You're not doing anything. You're just trying. So that's why there's professionals out there. There's mental health professionals, and there's therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists. Because sometimes it's not just as simple as dealing with trauma. You might have a condition.
That's real.
You might have a mental health condition that is going unaddressed. And for those 10, 15, 20 years, you're unaware of that, and you're just destroying friendships,
everything
and relationships,
in your way,
everything in your way like a tornado because you don't know how to. And it's not really truly your fault.
Yeah.
You were just unaware of it. So, it would be healthier for a partner to say, hey, I don't know that I can communicate to you in the way you need, but I do see some things that need some help or some fixing.
Yeah.
How would you feel about going to therapy? How would you feel about seeing this person or talking to this person? And I think that we as men are naturally trying to find the solution and fix things, and that's not our job.
It's not
really.
our job. Yeah.
It's not your job, especially if you're not a trained professional.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your job.
Yeah.
And you're probably gonna fail.
Yeah.
You know,
More than
that's
likely, you're gonna fail.
You might hold it together. You might be on that Tom Cruise holding on to the plane, Mission Impossible. But guess what? The mission is gonna remain impossible because it's you're not the person for that work.
You know, in relationships, you kind of heal and trigger a little bit, right? So, you know, on one end, you're speaking their love languages and you're getting the flowers and doing some stuff. But at the same time, when you say certain things by accident, you're also triggering that person. So, you know, as much as you think you might be able to save someone, they're in the middle of the battlefield trying to figure stuff out because the person they love the most could be accidentally triggering them as well. So I think, you know, you have to have a certain level of healing to even responsibly go into a relationship.
Right.
And unfortunately, because we all want love, a lot of people don't even check those boxes to make sure they're actually ready for a relationship.
Absolutely.
They just say, I want love, I'm jump into it. I know I might be a liability, but this person will help me heal. And it's like, it's not another person's job to fix your, you know, childhood trauma.
It's not. And that's why I was saying, like, people have to be comfortable being by themselves. And that goes hand in hand with mental health. Like, if your mental health isn't strong enough for you to be by yourself, you're going to retreat and you're going to just fall into whoever takes you first. And that's not healthy, because you're probably going to fall into the hands of someone that's going to be able to manipulate you in your current, you know, mental health season, wherever you are. Because I think that happens a lot too. That's not really talked about. It's like when you're not healthy and full and confident and authentic in who you are and you don't feel good, it's easier for a partner to manipulate you or gaslight you and say these things, and then you don't know what reality is.
Yep. That was me.
Because you don't really know who you are or what you want or where you are. So
I would say that was me, because I was in relationships so long. I think it's very healthy to be single in general for at least a moment in time.
I live by that. I've been telling her for a long time. I was like,
Right there, look.
Because you fall in love with your identity.
Yeah.
You start to know exactly who you are outside of a relationship.
Correct.
When you're in it a lot, because I've been inside of a lot of relationships, there's certain parts of you can't develop inside of a relationship. And then also, you know, to your point, if you don't get to a certain level of confidence, then it is very easy to be gaslit. It's very easy to be manipulated, because you start questioning the reality of the situation. It's like, is this really because of me, or is it because I'm not valuable enough? But when you really have done the work with yourself and you have that self-love outside of a relationship, and you have enough external and internal validation to know, like, no, I'm valuable. Then you come into it and you know your boundaries. You know, and it's like, nah, I know I'm better than this. I'm out of here.
Because the relationship isn't your identity. You have your own identity.
Right.
That's what I think a lot of people don't realize is, like, when you go into, people are like, I want to find my other half. I want to find my person. That you should already be 100+% by yourself. So that when you come and you have your own identity and you see if these identities can coexist. Yeah. It shouldn't be, let me find someone that can fill the voids that I already have. You shouldn't have any. And if you have some, do the work and fix them so that you can go into a relationship, because you might miss out on the love of your life because you went into something prematurely you weren't ready for, and then they see that, call you on it becomes conflict, and now it's over before it even started. So it's like, just do the work first. It's like going to take a test and you know you didn't study, and then getting mad when you get the C-. It's like, but you knew you failed because you never opened the book.
But I've read in a lot of notes over the years. It's my first time actually reading this from start to finish.
You never studied. So that's how I look at relationships, right? All right, guys. So if you take nothing else from this episode, remember these 3 things. Sexy is owning your shit. Sexy is accountability, and sexy is healing. Because at the end of the day, you don't want someone to find you in a place where you're not healed. If you're looking for someone to fix you, that's the wrong perspective. If you're already fixed, you'll become a magnet. So before I continue, I want to let the audience know that this episode is brought to you by mentalhealthcards.com. Absolutely love this brand, love this company. They're doing something very different around mental health and around greeting cards. I know, for me personally, I've had some friends dealing with like depression and suicidal ideation and things of that nature. And have you ever, no shade, but for Papyrus and like Hallmark, if you go look for a card that addresses those things, can you find anything that addresses them directly?
Nah, not directly.
No. And so these cards were vetted by a therapist. They talk to the specific things that people are going through. Again, whether it's suicidal ideation, whether it's depression, or you're dealing with LGBTQ plus issues and figuring out like how do I talk to my parents about coming out, or vice versa. How do parents talk to a child? These cards are written in a way where you feel seen and it speaks to you. And I think one of the biggest things in mental health is not feeling seen.
Yeah.
You don't feel that anyone knows what you're going through. You feel isolated, you feel alone. These cards help with that. So check them out, mentalhealthcards.com. You'll love them. And yeah. So if you know someone who's struggling, or that person is you, head to mentalhealthcards.com and grab a pack. Because helping someone heal starts with asking a question, and asking the right question, because that's sexy.
That's real. Guys, please like, subscribe, comment, turn on the bell notifications. We hope that you found this segment to be healing and sexy. Have a good one. God bless.
Peace.